there, all my friends. Chris Ruediger. I'm excited for this because I love a good podcast where we are literally in real time just meeting. And that is exactly what this is. And I have so much fun with these. So thank you for coming on the pod.
It's amazing, dude. I'm literally flying out from LA back to Nashville in 4 hours. And I was like, what do I want to do before this? I want to meet a new friend and hang out. Dude, so this is going to be great.
That's
we're going to get to know each other in real time.
I love that. And that's so much my vibe too. And I appreciate that. That already tells me so much about you as a person that you're just like, yeah, dude, I'll come do a podcast hours before I fly home.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm always down for a good hang, man. I love it.
So good. And shout out to Nick again. Nick is like my ultimate podcast homie that anytime Nick suggests a guest, I'm like, yep, cool, I'm in.
Man, I came out for a couple of days with some friends and I've known Nick for a while, but I didn't expect to see him here.
Yeah.
And the first night I'm in LA, I run into him and I'm like, it's a huge city, yet you still run into people that, small crazy world after all. So
yeah. So for a listener quickly, the way that I started is for anybody who doesn't know who you are, just a super quick explanation of who you are and what you do, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, that sounds great. So my name is Chris Ruediger. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. I am an artist and a songwriter, but I am now an entrepreneur because I have my own business, which is called the 615 House, which is a awesome collective of artists. It's a media outlet and also an artist development company heavily focused on social media and sort of the new way, I guess, opportunities artists have to grow their following through social media. So,
dude, and like to get right into it, I am so intrigued and impressed from what I've seen.
Thank you, man.
Again, like just meeting you, first impressions, looking at it quickly, I see 615 House and I'm like, okay, cool. But it instantly to me, and admittedly, I'm not deep in the country scene.
Sure.
But I'm like, I haven't seen something like this executed in the country space. And from my outside perspective, again, not really knowing, it's like a house of creators all around country music, but all together and kind of like boosting each other's followings up. Is that about right?
Absolutely. So
okay,
that's
awesome.
The whole thing, is based off of cross promotion, collaboration. It was a quarantine project when we had nothing going on.
Oh, okay.
And, no one's playing shows. Everyone's stuck in their house for the most part. Now we had a small group and we, had COVID checks and all that, but it was like, hey, what are we going to do today? Let's hang out and sing some songs together.
Yeah.
And let's cross promote and share each other's stuff, right? Because that's what this industry is all about. It's about making music and having fun with people that you care about and want to work with,
Amen to that. But what stands out, what I didn't know is that you really were an artist first. And that's where I'm like, okay, that's cool.
Right.
Because I think in this day and age, you have to be more than a musician to succeed as an artist, right?
Sure.
So I love when people get creative and find new ways to grow their audience. And the fact that you as an artist and a songwriter come up with this idea, and I want to hear how it all comes together.
Yeah.
But what a brilliant way to bring yourself up along with others. And it seems like it's working.
Thank you, man. It's very surprising to me to see how far it's gone. It was, I think as an artist, I think you're right. Like you have to find new ways and take new opportunities when, situations arise. And in this case, we were hit with the pandemic and I think a lot of people probably could have gone home or, found another job. And, I think it's really a testament to the artists that I work with in this project that we're like, you know what, we're going to try something now. And if it doesn't work, okay, guess what? We had a great time and we figured it out. But like,
I love that.
That was kind of the spirit going into it. So
because there is a real fear of like, oh my God, what if I fail? Right? Like that's,
oh my God, all the time.
I
right?
love your like, well, if it doesn't work, we had fun with it and we tried. I try to remind myself of that so much.
Right.
Because there is this feeling sometimes where you're like, oh my God, what if I fail? What if everyone thinks I'm stupid? It's like, dude, that's so dumb. Like, go have fun.
I think like the larger like creative industry, it's a matter of like you're shooting darts at a dartboard and like, yeah, you're gonna miss. You're gonna have some ones and twos, but then every now and then you might have that bullseye. And then when that happens, it's a matter of rolling on that momentum and keeping it going and keeping more bullseyes.
Yeah,
right? I think that's the whole point of it. Is like we all kind of know what we're doing, but at the same time we have no idea what we're doing, and there's no bad idea, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
So to me, throw those darts.
Yeah. But I really do. I love and respect when an artist has also a good fundamental understanding of marketing and creativity and how to use that in a business sense and really I don't know, just like take advantage of that, not in a bad, shady way, but like
Sure.
in a way of like, yeah, cool. Like you've learned different elements. So
Right.
take me back though,
Sure.
you as an artist.
Yeah.
Where does this begin? Like what did life look like before the 615 house, before the pandemic? How long had you been an artist? Did you think you were going to be an artist? Like,
Yeah, I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts.
okay.
And that's not the home of country music by
No.
any means. And so I actually grew up, I listened to like all styles of music, but I remember toward the end of middle school, Kenny Chesney came up to New England.
Okay.
Was a huge deal because finally New England was like getting behind country music and country artists. And
Yeah.
I remember hearing Kenny Chesney and being like, whoa, that's actually a really cool style of music. I want to tap into it. And so in high school, I started listening to more country music, but it wasn't really until I got to Nashville. And I went to Nashville for college. And I actually wasn't even sure whether I was going to pursue music post college. It was more of like still a hobby at the time.
No shit. What were your focuses on?
Yeah,
in
so
college?
I went to school for economics and marketing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So I was a little bit of a nerd, but I like loved math and numbers and was like, you know what, I'm going to try this whole economics thing. And come to find out, I ended up hating economics and loving music in Nashville. So little pivot.
Did you finish the economic? Like, did you?
I did.
Okay,
I did.
yeah.
Each class it was like pulling more hair.
Wow.
Out. But
so it was a grind. Like
it was
the whole time.
It was. And I also just like being in Nashville. They're such a vibrant city. Like there's
Yeah.
so much going on, especially, you know, as I was falling more in love with music and songwriting, like I found myself, you know, staying up late, just cramming in that paper or that test, even though all I wanted to be doing was writing a song and going to a show. So
yeah. Okay. So
there
you kind of
was-
knew like the
Yeah,
writing was on the
like
wall.
toward the end of college, it was kind of like, all right, let's just like punch my ticket and then get out of here.
Well,
But-
respect for finishing it though, right? Like,
Thank you. Well, you know what? It definitely made mom and dad happy. I come from my family is very supportive of music, but like cannot sing or play a lick of anything.
funny.
So
funny.
for them, they're very business oriented. They prioritize foundation and having a strong education, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
But when it comes to music, it's like uncharted waters. You know, they have no idea like
Right.
what I'm doing, and they also don't know exactly like how to help. But they're also like fans, and they're cheering on from the sideline.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that's really
So-
cool. I like that because like it's interesting. Certain people do come from a very musical family and it's like you do have that support, but I
Right.
very much do respect the people that you're kind of the first generation of like, hey, I'm going to try this. And
Right.
That's cool.
It's funny. My dad is like, I've noticed that he's started to really enjoy it. Like he'll, you know, occasionally he'll get up and do like a karaoke song with me at a show, or like, or he'll like walk in and, you know, tell the bouncer like, oh, I'm the roadie, you know, he'll want to carry my guitar. It's like that kind of thing. It's funny.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so you're in Nashville, you finished college, but you really did start to gravitate towards writing music and songwriting, and
Yeah.
you could kind of feel it. So then did you have a plan? Like was it very clear to you that you're like, I'm going to get this degree and I'm not going to do a goddamn thing with anything that I learned here and I'm going to
Dude,
pivot?
It was scary
Mm.
and exciting at the same time when I knew college was coming to an end. And a lot of my friends have very successful jobs and moved to various cities. But I was like, Nashville's too fun. I'm now starting to discover myself as an artist and a songwriter. Because to me, like co-writing and the whole songwriting process that happens in Nashville,
Yeah.
I didn't experience until I got there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm finally finding what is, I guess, my own sound.
Yeah.
And graduating college, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give this thing a run. Like, we're going to take a couple years. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
We're going to see if it works. And if I go 5 years and I'm still where I am now, then fine. We can go back to, the degree and find maybe some economics gig.
Yeah.
But like, you got to take your shot when you're young, right? Isn't that what
Yeah.
our 20s are for? It's like doing what we
100%.
I heard this like quote from somebody, I can't remember, but it's like, but you work 50% of your life. And so if you're not going to do what you love,
Yeah.
then like, what's the point of it, And
Right.
so like, for me, it's like, I feel like I haven't worked since college, even though I'm working so much,
That's that.
but it's just because I'm having so much fun with what I'm doing.
Yes, that's that internal compass. And you can feel when that's out of line. Because
Yeah.
you can feel like you probably felt that in college where you're like, this is a grind. It's not there.
Right.
But like, and you probably work harder than many people in regular jobs, like you're probably putting in way more hours and you're probably dealing with stressful situations, but it doesn't feel like work because you're in line with that thing where you're like, this is my thing, and you feel it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's in the music industry and entertainment industry as a whole is like a 24-hour gig, like other people, it's like they have their 9 to 5 and then 501 hits and like they're out. And you're not hearing from them until the next day. But in music, it's like creativity happens at all times of the day. You feel like you can always be doing something more.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, it's 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And we're recording a podcast
at 8 o'clock. Yeah. It's like, but it's fun. Yeah. This isn't work.
Right. Exactly.
It's like we're hanging and having a great conversation. So.
Exactly. So you started kind of following that and scratching that itch. Did you have any amount of success in the beginning? Like, were there signs of like, oh shit, this is going to work? Or was it a bit of a grind?
It was definitely a grind to start and very humbling. Like, similar to LA, like there's so much talent in Nashville. And so I think everybody moves to Nashville being like a huge fish in a small pond, right? They're the hometown hero. Everyone's rooting for them.
Yeah. And good way to put it.
They're just the local star. And then you come to Nashville and you're like, oh shit, I'm as talented or slightly less talented than all these other people that have been here for several years and are great songwriters and great performers. And so for me, like, the start of it was a little stressful and humbling just because I would play shows and I would clearly be, I need the most improvement after the show. But it also like kind of lit, I think, like a fire under me to like keep going and write more. And like, I'm just the kind of person where like, if I get like pissed off or frustrated, which I wasn't even, I wasn't pissed off, but I was just motivated. It's like, I'm going to stick with it. Like, I'm not going to turn back and find something else.
Okay. So it was like you had enough of that spark to keep it going in that. Right. So then what is the timeline of like, how long are you just doing the solo artist thing and developing that and writing before you kind of turn this page on 615 House and this evolution that's now turned you into a businessman as well?
Right. It's funny how it's like full circle. I'm now a businessman. I went to school for business, right? It's like, I did not expect to run into this. I was an artist for a couple years. I put out a few songs and they did okay. They were my first recordings. I was new to the process and how to release music. And I think you learn every release what you can do better.
100%.
But the last song that I released before launching the project had a little traction. And I remember I booked a tour for the summer of 2020. So that was going to be like my first, like, let's get I found a band too. I had friends that went to Belmont University who were great musicians, and that's a great music school. And so I found myself hanging out there a lot as well. And I formed a band and we said, we're going to play like 30 dates this summer along the East Coast. We're starting like North Carolina, go all the way up to Massachusetts. It's going to be great, right?
Summer 2020, here we come.
And, needless to say, we played a total of 0 dates. So
didn't really work out.
Did not work out how we chalked it up.
So. On that timeline.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So at that point, that must have been a huge bummer because that would have been your first proper touring. But that's kind of where you get to this point where you're like, you can have the pity party and you can be bummed and throw in the towel, or you can get creative.
Right.
So were some of the early people with that part of your band, or like, how did this idea, like take me to this moment where this idea happens? Cause I'm so fascinated by like that exact moment and how these things begin,
Right. I remember I had some friends that were also musicians and artists or worked in the entertainment space. And this platform called TikTok came around, and that's, as we know, it's been crazy disruptive to the industry.
Yeah.
But at the time, like any app, it takes a while to kind of build momentum. And I remember there were some artists that were on the platform, but no one really in country.
Yeah.
And this is, and I love Nashville and it's a great place, but I will say like Nashville tends to be a few years behind like LA. And so like, like when iTunes comes out, Nashville's still kind of rocking the CDs, or then like when it's Spotify, it's like iTunes is big for country. And so there was just hesitation for people in country music to get on TikTok because I think it had the reputation of being like a dance heavy platform and like an influencery platform.
Dance heavy, young, like it was for children. Like it was like, why as an adult or a professional artist, or like, why would I go onto the kids app? Right. Like that's what it felt like to me in the beginning.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I think there was a hesitation by a lot of artists in Nashville to get on. And I was just sort of nudged by some friends to check it out. And I can't dance for shit, but I, was able to sing a little bit. And so I said, all right, I'm going to post a couple videos, see how they do. And the first couple, whatever, a couple hundred views, a couple thousand views maybe. And it was nothing crazy, but I kind of I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep posting. Like if I was already making content for other socials, I was like, well, then I can just post it on this platform and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then I remember there was one video I did a challenge where I took like 5 solo cups and I put like 5 of my favorite artists, and I would like take a drink and then sing a lyric of a song by that artist.
Oh, funny. Okay.
And I did it as like just a game, and didn't really think much of it. And I woke up the next day and it had, I think, 3.2 million views. It was like my first like viral video, and my phone was like lighting up with new followers, notifications. I'm like, this silly video that I made like, last night thinking it might get 100 views is gotten me a bigger following than I've worked like 3 years to get.
Holy crap.
And that was the moment I was like, whoa, like this TikTok platform has a lot more pull and like opportunity than I think I was giving it credit for.
Dude, I'm going to be 100% with you. I've never in my career experienced that moment, and it seems so crazy. I've heard people talk about it.
Yeah.
And that's so wild. Like it literally is the like I posted it and then I went to sleep and I woke up and you're like, what? Like it was that?
I kid you not. It was that.
So that's so much to process. Like I don't really know. Like I can put myself in those shoes, but like I don't really actually know like what I would do. Like, did you wake up and be like, I have to change everything? Like, oh my God. Or like, was it like, what do you do next? What's next?
Yeah. I mean, I just, I woke up the next day and I made round 2. I did the same video. I was like, well, this got a lot of views. I might as well do it again. But I didn't really process like, I was still trying to figure out the next step. Sure. And I was like, well, I know that this worked. I don't know anything else that works, but all I know is that video worked.
Wow. That's actually so...
Let me do it again,
Simply brilliant, right? That like not some crazy mastermind plan and you would follow a strategy. But like, yeah, if this worked, well, let me do it again. Like that's actually so simply brilliant.
Yeah. I don't, people like you have that moment and I think you freak out and you're like, you try to change all your ways and do all this stuff. And it's like, you should realize like what you just did, like connected with people, whether it's a silly video or some crazy, scripted and produced video. It's like that connected with people. So like, keep doing that.
Dude, that like really in real time, like you took something that people really dream of and explained that to me in such a simple human way that I've never actually really thought about. But it's like, what did you do next? Well, I just did the same thing that worked.
Yeah. I mean,
Did it work again?
It did.
Wow.
It did for a little bit. And then there was a kind of a drop at one point. That's the tough part about I was posting primarily on TikTok, and it's a very interesting platform because it's really the only platform that I think we've seen where your videos are being funneled to an audience that doesn't know you for the most part.
Right.
And the algorithm is based off of engagement and in viewership and, in real time. And if something is highly engaging, then it'll be exposed to a larger audience of people, right? And so forth. Eventually, I think, whether my videos just stopped connecting with people or maybe they were exposed to a different audience than the ones that saw the first one.
Yeah, like that original algorithm pocket changed.
Yeah. So, that happened and, I kind of had to adopt a little bit to figure out kind of what my next move was. But I just remember that was the first moment of like, whoa, like there's something really powerful about social media and about TikTok and like, where do I take it?
Yeah. And did you, from the outside world, did you start to get like label interest or industry interest, or did anything in your career change? Did you notice, Did that attention translate, or was it just a positive enough sign to say, I'm gonna keep going?
There wasn't really much label interest just after that one video.
Yeah.
I think it was in part because it wasn't pertaining to my original music.
Sure.
I think that, I'm sure labels saw it. And my guess is they were like, well, this kid's got a great voice. He's got, maybe a cool vibe, but it's like, does he write songs? What's his original music? And I hadn't had a track record yet of any song really doing significant numbers that would, I think, warrant like label interest.
Sure. Yeah.
So that came a little bit later. And it's interesting because a lot of my friends who I think had a similar experience, like had a pocket of virality early, but it maybe didn't cater to their original music. And then I think the battle is like, well, then how do you get people to respond to what you create? Because ultimately as an artist, right, and as a songwriter, your main goal is like, you want people screaming your shit.
Yeah.
When they're at a stadium or when they're jamming in their car, not, somebody else's song.
It's like blowing up off of a cover. It's like, that's great, but that's not me.
Right.
So that's awesome. You had attention, but then the challenge becomes, how do I take that attention and make it focused on myself and have people still care and understand it?
Exactly.
Did you figure that out?
Man, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Wild.
That's the battle that I think we face like every day is how do we connect with more people or with the people that are listening to us with each release and each song. But I definitely think we've made some headway into that.
That's a super honest answer, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. That's the challenge, right? Like you're only as good as like the last song you put out. And then the next one that you have, it's like, how do you get that to connect with people? And like, you can, it's important to build a loyal fan base. And, you see a lot of artists that maintain that through many years. But I think that also comes with like song after song after song that's connecting with people. And that's just like the development of an artist. And I think like every release you have that internal like battle of like, is this going to connect with people? Is this the right song? And like, how best do I communicate and share that with people?
Dude, it's crazy. Because I've never done the artist project, right? That wasn't my journey. It's not like something where I'm like, I wonder, I wish, but I really like, I feel it and I get that. And I think you explain that so well. So then my next question is, this is happening. When does 615 become a thing? Like, is it like, cool, you figured that out? Are you like, yo, 2020 pandemic happens, homies, let's get together? Or what, like, how did that come together?
So I had a good friend in Nashville named Ashley Cook who had sort of the same exact quick moment of virality happened to her when it happened to me. It was for a different cover video. I think she was like singing in a room and it, sang great and it blew up. And so her and I were talking and, she's like, hey, like I saw your video blew up. And I'm like, I saw yours did too. And we're like, well, what the hell do we do?
Yeah.
And at the time she had a couple friends that also had similar moments, as did I. And, we started brainstorming. We're like, well, none of us are playing shows. We're all hanging out in Nashville.
Yeah.
We're all making the same kind of videos. What if we got together and hung out and shared ideas and sang songs together and had these moments of virality together? So that was how it was birthed. And we said, well, what do we want to name this? And at the time there was like the Hype House out here in LA. And
that is a thing.
There were several other houses like across the country, none based in Nashville. And also there weren't many houses that were specifically catered toward music
and country
music, right?
That's what instantly stood out to me. As soon as I looked at it, I was like, how have I never seen a country music one? Yours is the first one I've seen.
Right.
And I might be just out of the loop and there might be others, but like, as soon as I saw it, I was like, brilliant.
Yeah. Well, it's back to that point of like, there were still artists that weren't on TikTok or knew what it was. And so we said, all right, let's get together. Let's make initially we were just going to call ourselves the Country House. And it was like, well, all right, that's a little lame, guys. We can do a little better than this. And one of the things that we realized is all our friends that we wanted to work with were based in Nashville. And so the area code of Davidson County, Nashville, is 615. And so we said, why don't we call ourselves the 615 House? It's rooted in Nashville, and it's going to be a collective of, we started with 8 artists.
Yeah.
And so in August of 2020, we launched the project.
Yeah.
We got together, we made a bunch of videos, and from there it's been what it is.
Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Wild. And do you live there full time?
There's a lot of people asked that early on. We did not live there. We did for a couple nights.
Okay.
We would stay, generally we would stay Monday, Tuesday, and like Wednesday night. And then people would kind of do their own thing on the weekends.
Yeah.
Now we have the same process actually, because as live music's back, a lot of artists are on the road during the weekend and playing shows.
Especially with country and Nashville. There's these little smaller chunks of country weekend runs.
Right. That's I think like maybe the biggest difference between country music and other styles of music is like there are so many opportunities to play live music, not just in Nashville and on Broadway, but around the Southeast, around the Midwest, even out West and in the Northeast now. And so like a lot of artists do the whole like turn and burn, 150 shows a year kind of thing. Yeah. And and we love it. And most of us love being in a van and driving 6 hours to play, some honky tonk club. So I think that's kind of been the beautiful balance, is like Monday through Wednesday, we can hang out together and like work on our music. And then, we also reap the benefits of playing it for real people on the weekends.
Yeah. Wow. So it's like really now like the combination of us getting out of a pandemic and what that has turned into has been like even more special.
Yeah. It's been really cool. And there are a few friends of mine that I'm just so proud of because I've gotten to watch their journey. And it's the first time, like I have some friends that are really successful and have played huge, arenas and clubs and whatnot. But this is the first time I've seen someone that had no following go from ground floor to being able to do that. And
to
so
literally see it firsthand, to be with it.
Right. And like, they're my close friends. And so like, it's just like, watching that process and them develop is really cool.
Yeah.
And it just excites me to watch them grow more, but then also to find like the next wave of artists. So like, there's somebody else out there that is on ground floor and is going to be,
Okay.
huge.
So you kind of just read my mind with my next question.
Really?
Now, so now that you've figured, I don't also know, like, is it your mastermind thing? I'm not trying to like give you all the credit when there's a collection of people, but you are a part of something that is clearly developing and incubating artists that is then accelerating and giving people a platform to blow up.
Yeah.
Do you find more fulfillment in being an artist or in that developmental, like, I guess, business industry side of like, whoa, this is cool. I can now find artists and help them grow.
That's like the question right there.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like I started as an artist and I really the purpose of the project was to promote my own artistry.
Right.
I loved watching these other artists succeed.
Yeah.
But like in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, like them succeeding is just like also going to turn to like me succeeding as an artist and like we can collaborate together. We can put out records together. Like that was kind of spinning in my mind. But then over the past year, I've really realized like this is like a larger business model. And like what we're doing is we're creating a community of people that get to know each other, get to create music together, and then reap the benefits of that by all going out, on the road, either together or with other artists. And so for me, I guess like lately my head's been, a little bit more in the business mindset of like, all right, this is my company. It's my baby. Like, I don't want to watch this thing die. And I want to watch the same experience that happened to 8 artists that I was with at the start happen to like another 8 artists.
Yep.
And so it's just excited me because, I'm still doing the artistry stuff. I'm still going to put out records and write music. And like, that's just a passion of mine. But I also am enjoying the business stuff more.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
Great question though, man. I mean, that's the question that like I wake up and like, have to think about. Cause like, am I going to be a business person or an artist today?
Well, it's just the reason I ask is like, I put myself in those shoes and like, I don't know. And I find like in my life, I'm always kind of doing two things, right? I got the podcast going, but then I'm like working at the creative agency and, and I'm kind of doing the label thing on the side. And like,
right.
I have creative ADD with that, right? It's very hard for me. And I sometimes struggle with the idea of like, would I be more successful? Would it have gone further if I had just full tunnel vision? This is the thing and only this.
Right.
But then I'm like, well, would I have been fulfilled? Could I do that? I don't know. So now talking to somebody as well, where it's like, clearly you have two things succeeding. Like,
right.
Can you even answer that? Is that even possible? Like, I don't know.
Man. I mean, it's the coulda, shoulda, woulda kind of thing.
Right.
But it's like, I do think that we have different, like multiple passions. And I think that's part of like this whole creative industry is you wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting is a lot of people will wear multiple creative hats. So they'll be like a songwriter and an artist and a producer.
Yeah.
Or, maybe they're into like photography or production. But
that's so true.
What's tough is the difference between like, I have to kind of like flip on my creative brain at certain times and then also flip on like my business brain.
Dude.
And like that has been kind of an interesting process to deal with because those are two very different mindsets to have.
Dude.
And so that's where I think like your statement of like, well, like, do I focus on just one is like kind of haunting me because it's like, well, shit, like maybe I should just focus on the business stuff and get that out of the way. But then like, and then, there's times where I like think of a great song title and I'm like, fuck, man, I need to write this song. Like, so it's not like, it's like, for me, I think that's like just the inevitable battle that I'm going to have. And like, just being able to have these two different outlets to express those when I need to is really cool.
Yeah. And like, dude, it's definitely a question that I don't have an answer to either, because I think you have to come back to what's fulfilling to you and follow that as best as you can in the moment and see what happens.
Right.
But I just get it just feels like you genuinely are good at both. And like, what a blessing and a curse, right?
I'm learning every day, man. I don't, I don't have it all figured out by any means, but it's exciting. Yeah. And again, it goes back to like the start of what we talked about. It's like, I could be doing maybe a 9 to 5 somewhere and like, hate my life, but it's like, no, this is cool. Like I wake up every day and like, there's something different. And I like am creating my own schedule and navigating these two different lanes and passions that are kind of beautifully mixed together too. And like, I don't know, man, it's just exciting. And I can't wait to just keep doing it and see where it goes.
I always say good problems. Like I remind myself, I'm like, it doesn't mean there's not problems, but if this is what I'm stressing about and this is what I have to focus on and figure out, we're all right.
Right. Do you sleep a lot or no?
I would say like medium. Like it's not that I can't sleep. Like I can go to sleep when I'm tired and rest. It's more that I have to stay up late to finish stuff and wake up early to get back to stuff.
Right.
So
yeah,
does your mind race at night?
My mind races at night, but also like I'm the kind of guy, like it's like if I get 4 or 5 hours of sleep, but I wake up and I have all this stuff to do, like I'm excited and rejuvenated about it. You know what I mean? So it's like, we can sleep when we're dead. Like, this is our time to like do what we want.
But again, that to my point, like you're clearly going down the right path if you feel that way, right? You're clearly, if you're excited to stay up late and wake up early, you're doing the right thing.
See, you'll agree with that. I don't think my doctor would, but
Right. But that's also too, like, I think that's using your youth well. Like, I think we have to be aware of like, there's only so much time where you can run yourself like that. So like, fuck it. Like if you're in the moment and you can,
fuck it, man.
Fuck it.
I love it.
This is a funny one because really talking about this in this time, this is so far from like the end of your career and you made it and you did it. Like this is all happening in real time. Like the journey is really like, this is your first time here in LA and like, my God, I can only imagine what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
So I guess to kind of conclude, like when you look at the next year or so, do you like, what are these goals? What are the things that you kind of play around with at night and like your next things that you're building, or like, do you have that kind of like goalpost right now?
Yeah, I have like sort of a vision board and
I fuck with the vision board,
I fuck with the vision board, man. I think they're cool. And like, I'll have goals and like some of them are concretely spelled out, but also like what I've realized about this industry is like everyone thinks that there's like one path.
Yeah.
And it's like, I got to go, this road and then I take a left and it's like, that's my destination. It's where I'm going to get.
Yeah.
But like, there's actually so many different paths that might lead you to the same destination or different destinations, but you have to like ride with it. Like I never thought that this business would come now.
Yeah.
And again, it was birthed from me just trying to like further my artistry.
Yeah.
So for me, I have visions, but I also am open to like seeing where this project or like what other opportunities are going to come my way.
Man, that's
which
so
I think
great.
is, I don't know. Again, it excites me, but yeah, like I'm really just getting started, and like I have a lot of things that I want to do with this business. I want to, I want to continue to develop it. I want to help other artists grow. I want to have interest in what they're creating, and so part of me is like trying to figure out a solution for how I can have a larger role in like developing their careers.
Yeah,
and that's not because like I've done it and I'm some huge like star. It's just that like I have passion for other people and how they create their work, and like I see social media as an avenue to help them market themselves, and so I'm really excited about that. And then from my artistry standpoint, like the beauty of this project and like just being in Nashville and being in LA is like I love meeting people, and so like I want to put out music with other people, and that's something that I haven't done a lot of. Like in the midst of all of this stuff, right? I still have yet to put out a song with somebody else.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So your journey is like really just getting started. Like there's still so much to check off that list.
Yeah, dude. Like I want to put out, I want to write bangers with a bunch of people, and like I want to have a whole one idea that I've had for a while is like to have a whole album with, call it 15 songs, and like there's a different artist on each song with me.
Yeah.
And, I know like artists like I think Ed Sheeran did one of those. There's a country artist named Jimmy Allen who did like a smaller version of that.
Yeah.
But like find the people that are like, also young and fresh and like I draw inspiration from, and like let's create together.
That's cool.
And like for me, that's my vision is like I just think collaboration wins.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna kind of ride on that for as long as I can.
Dang, that might be the podcast title. It might be Collaboration Wins.
Collaboration Wins,
strong.
Right?
That's
you like that?
Strong. Because really, like that little statement, like I think that encompasses so much of what your success has been, but also in a bigger picture, I think that is what matters right now. And I think that the old school parts of the industry and the general mindset of there isn't enough room for everyone to succeed is so whack. Like we're in a time where everyone can come up together.
Yeah.
So I think the more artists do collaborate and push boundaries and push genres and try different shit and things that maybe haven't been done, I think is something that will continue to be rewarded and to be really cool to a consumer, at least right now in this current space. I feel that.
I'm right with you, man.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it just feels so there is the washed version of it, like the t-shirt collab of like, all right, which brands are you putting together now?
Right.
But when people work together in new creative ways, or when artists like that, was so fun. You ever go to a live show and the bands that are touring together, somebody jumps on stage with one of the others on in like those moments, like you love it. And it's that's
the best part of the show.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that gets old.
No.
Especially when it's coming from a genuine place.
Right.
Yeah.
You got some great questions, man. This has been like a good hang. I feel like, it'd be cool too to like, and I got to do one on you too, and your journey at some point, because I feel like you're the interviewer, but I want you to be the interviewee at some point.
Dude, I'm in. Because that's a great thing to say. Is so right before we started, you were saying that you're kind of entertaining a podcast, right? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always wanted to do a podcast because, like, as we talked about, like, you just get to hang and meet people.
It's so
and, like,
fun. I love talking to people. We literally met 5 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, cool. I made a friend and I fuck with what you're doing. And it's like, it brings me so much energy to talk to and meet people. So you as well?
Yeah, man. That's my thing. I think I want to, I want to start it, in the next couple months. Again, it's, similar to what you're saying. I love love talking to creatives,
Mm-hmm.
and I love learning about their journey and where they're going to go. And, part of me wants it to actually kind of expand outside of like music.
Yeah.
Like I love listening to, How I Built This, like killer podcast, right? And like, it's so cool to hear stories of these entrepreneurs and CEOs and like see what they've done. And so, part of me too is like, I think the beauty of like a podcast, and you mentioned this before we started too, is like you get to talk to people that you don't necessarily do business with or like are perfectly aligned with just from a career standpoint. And so for me, I think finding like other creatives or even like entrepreneurs that are, in different sectors that I might not know about and use it as like a learning tool as well for me to, hear about their journeys and what they're doing, I think would be really cool. So I don't know, we're still figuring out exactly, what that's going to look like, but I'm going to interview you.
I'm so in. I'm so in. And I think my listeners would probably be stoked too, because I get that every now and then, like, tell your story. And I'm like, we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Exactly.
But no, I love that. And it's funny, like you were saying that. And I think a couple points to that is I actually, like, beyond music, I'm literally like, I had struggled with this and then I was like, this is a stupid decision. I'm absolutely going to do it. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to switch the podcast out of music interviews and then just into business and entrepreneurial stories. And the re-description of what it has grown to be is literally the How I Built This of creative careers. Because that's what it is. And that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But then it's like, I love the idea. You could literally say the exact same pitch, but you could say the same pitch and you could talk to the same people that have been on mine and it would be different.
Right.
And that's why I'm like, I love when people start podcasts because building community and actually genuinely learning like what people are talking about and inspired by is super rad and it connects people, but you're also sharing that with anyone that cares to listen. Yeah. And like, that's so sick that people care to listen because like everyone learns and grows and builds community. And I'm so fucking here for it.
Well, it's killer, man. And a testament to like what you're doing because there are a lot of podcasts out there that I think maybe are a little cheesy or not direct when it comes to like actually giving a shit about what people are doing and learning from it. And I think like the meat and bones of the discussion comes with like, what we've talked about and what you've talked about with other, musicians. So
that's cool.
I don't know, man. I'm excited, dude. I'm here for it. So
that's great. So
let's make it happen.
Let's do it. And then everybody should just follow you on Instagram or TikTok. And then once it goes live, you'll promote it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then where can everybody find you?
Yeah. So my name's Chris Ruediger. Ruediger spelled Ruediger. Nice. It's got a little funky spelling, but you can find me on all socials. And then obviously the 615 House is on socials as well as a project and a company. And we got a lot more stuff coming there and a lot more stuff on my end as well. So
dope. I'm so excited. I'm so in now to like follow along and see it go. Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this.
Dude, thanks for doing this. And I'm glad we could sneak it in before I have to fly back. Dude. I feel it sucks that I have to leave LA. I like loved it here. I love meeting, you. I love meeting so many people in the city and I have a feeling I'm going to be back pretty soon. So
that is the positive, inspiring side of LA. Like you can definitely be here for a while and kind of like the general just hectic BS of it can weigh on you. But I love, like, you're so right. Like when you meet the like-minded people and you see so many people that care and are pushing forward to similar goals, like there's a lot of energy and inspiration that comes from that.
For sure.
I have the feeling you'll be out here more too.
I think you're right. You're right. So,
well, then I guess we'll be hanging out.
Sounds good, man. It sounds like we're going to be kicking it a lot more in the future.
I'm in, dude.
Hell yeah.
There it is, Chris's story. Again, I love episodes like that. We literally met 10 minutes before we started recording. And then at the end of it, there was a new friend. And it was such a fun, helpful, inspiring conversation. I hope you feel the same way. Sounds like you might start a podcast. So if you're interested in that, make sure to follow him. And I'll absolutely do an episode. So make sure to let him know that you'd be interested in that as well. Outside of that, if you're new to the podcast or if you've been listening for a long time, there's a couple things that you can do that are immensely helpful and immensely appreciated by me. The first one is just telling a friend about it. Doesn't matter where, text it to them, post it on social, anything. Word of mouth really is the biggest and most important thing for growing podcasts, and it's totally free. So if you're here at the end and you're feeling inspired, please do me that favor, share it with a friend. Also, make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening. Spotify, leave 5 stars, Apple Podcasts, write a review, YouTube, leave a comment, thumbs up, all that good stuff. It really does help. It helps with all their algorithm whatnots and all that. And more podcasts are getting served and put into discovery algorithms. So the more that exists, it's super helpful. And then if you want to go above and beyond, there is a Where Are All My Friends Patreon. Right now, this really still is a passion project. So any amount of donation and support is so appreciated. I think that says it all. Thank you so much for listening. Let me know who else you want to hear from. I'll be back next week with another episode.